member of the House Budget Committee, Congressman Buddy Carter. Mr. Congressman, so Congress is happy there's not a shutdown, but there were things in this continuing resolution that people are seriously concerned about, the refugee crisis, the funding there. What's your reaction to all this?
Well, there's no question about it. People are concerned about the funding for the Afghan refugees and for them to be settled here. And we've had a number of calls in our office of people inquiring about this. Now, all of us want to make sure that the people in Louisiana that have been hit by the hurricanes and other areas, sure, we want to make sure that they get the relief funding that they so desperately need. However, when this is typical Democratic politics, whenever you put these kind of things in with the CR, with the bill, you know, people ask you all the time, why didn't you vote for this? Well, do you know what else was in it? That's the key there. You have to look at it as totality. If it were a clean CR, then that would be one thing. But whenever they add other things into it, then that muddies the waters. That's why, and the Democrats are really good at that. And that's what Nancy Pelosi is trying to do right now with this $4.3 trillion socialist wish list that would be nothing more than a cradle-to-grave government dependency. It would make turn the American dream into a socialist nightmare. But she wants to couple it with the $1.1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill and put them together and say, oh, let's vote for both of these. They're both good. Come on, Madam Speaker. We want to vote separately. We don't want these things coupled together.
It's unbelievable what they're trying to do. They always try to do this panic around government shutdowns. And even Republicans, the fact that you had that many Republican senators vote for this, they'd already voted for infrastructure, which created this whole problem to begin with. What's going to stop them from moving forward? Do you think Manchin and Sinema are going to cave in the end, or do you think they're going to stand strong on this and not vote for it?
Well, I serve with Kirsten Sinema, and I know her to be a person of her word, and I'm trusting that she's going to continue to hold the line and not vote for this. Senator Manchin has been reported to have said, you know, he's got a number in mind, $1.5 trillion. Even $1.5 trillion is too much. This is nothing more than a socialist wish list. It's nothing more than progressive priority list. Now, the $1.1 trillion infrastructure bill alone, you know, it does include roads and bridges and airports and seaports and broadband, things that all of us would consider to be infrastructure. And I'm even willing to go as far as to look at wastewater and drinking water and the resiliency of our electrical grid. Okay, I'm willing to look at that. But there's so much more in that other bipartisan relief package that, you know, again, this is what Democrats are good at. They're good at putting all this together and saying, here it is, vote for it.
Why is it that Republicans, they're so good at compromising? Democrats never compromise. Why isn't there this 100% faction within the Republican Party to say, we're not going to move forward on this until certain things are stripped from the bill? Instead, the Democrats know eventually Republicans will cave.
Well, my hope is that eventually we won't, but I have to admit that you're probably more right than I am in this case. Well, and I do get disappointed sometimes that we give in, and we give in too easily. If we just hold to our guns, I really believe that we can win this. I'm optimistic now that they're not going to be able to pass this $4.3 trillion cradle-to-grave social dependency, government dependency, socialist wish list. I really think that we're going to be able to defeat this. Now, the $1.1 trillion, there are a number of Republicans who've already said that they're going to vote for that. So I don't know. If they're decoupled, how's it going to turn out? Well, the 4.3 I don't think stands a chance. The 1.1 depends on how many Republicans vote for it.
It's so sad because when we had a chance to do infrastructure under President Trump, there was never any compromise from the Democrats. Even Mitch McConnell said he wasn't willing to spend that much money. But now that the swamp's back in power, everybody's more than happy to say, oh, it's just $1 trillion instead of $4 trillion. We're still talking in trillions.
Exactly, and that's a lot of money, and that's a great point. You know, Joe Manchin wants to say, well, I got it down from $4.3 trillion to $1.5 trillion. I'm a hero. No, spending $1.5 trillion is not heroic. Let me tell you, it is anything but heroic. Can you imagine how much money that is? I mean, we've got to stop this spending. We've got to cut up our credit cards in Washington, D.C. We've got to quit saddling future generations with this debt. We've got to quit raising taxes. This $4.3 trillion, the president who you just paid the clip said, no, it's all paid for. Yeah, when he raises taxes by $3 trillion.
They're going to raise taxes on everybody. This is not about raising taxes on the rich. You already see it based on the fact of inflation going up. It's the people out there that are actually going to pay for it. But, Mr. Congressman, keep us posted. We're all going to be watching. We really hope Republicans and even those so-called moderate Democrats show some courage here to at least stop the next one, because we just can't let this happen.
Agree 100%.
Thank you. God bless you. Keep us posted.